Welcome to Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, and relationships create a tapestry of extraordinary experience. On today's video, people, I want to bring forth to you a very interesting episode today. As we go through this, I want to talk about the power of two-parent Black households, the positive impacts on our future. Now, today, we're going to be talking about something that often gets overlooked, and that is the positive side of two-parent Black households. Now, we will explore the benefits they bring to the children, the families, and the community as a whole, backed up with some really cool statistics that even I didn't know until looking into this particular topic. Now, as we go through this, I want to definitely go ahead and set the foundation. I definitely want to make sure that we are providing some insightful material. We have to make sure that we have a foundation. Now, the question I want you to ask yourself is why family structure matters. Now, the family structure plays a very important and crucial role in the growth and development and the success of our children, because studies have shown that kids raised in two-parent households, especially in the Black community, are more likely to succeed academically, socially, and financially as well. Now, this is such an important thing because let me go into some details and explain why. So when we're looking at these particular households, there are some things that I want to bring up that are super important. But when you're looking at Black children in two-parent household, I want to break down the statistics so we all kind of get an understanding of what's going on. But when you look at just Black children that are in two-parent household, 42% of Black kids have at least two parents in the household. Now, the other half of that is about 46%. And that 46% is by just having their mother only in the house. Now, when you look at the other portion of that 46%, which is definitely going to put it, of course, well into the 50s, is that 5% live with the father only, and the other 7% live with neither parent in the house, where they raised by the grandparents or somebody else, and so forth. But as we're looking at that, we have to understand as we're going through this of how important that the positive side of education has on the impact of a kid's life. Now, when we're looking at this, I want you to keep in mind that academically, if we start with education alone by themselves, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, children from a two-parent household are more than likely and more than twice as likely to graduate from high school and 50% more likely to attend college. Now, studies have shown that they tend to have higher GPAs, they tend to have better attendance, they tend to have fewer behavioral issues in school, but that's not always the case. But we're speaking about the majority of the aspect. So, for example, there was a study in 2019 that found that children in two-parent households were 44% more likely to excel academically compared to their peers from single-parent homes. Now, whether I've seen both sides of the equation, where I've seen students who come from single-parent homes still excel well in their education if they so choose to go to school. Now, this is not to say at all by any means that kids or children that come from single parent households that they don't do well in school, because they absolutely do. But a lot of times when I'm talking about this, I like to speak in the majority, because that is what's going to most definitely matter the most when you're dealing with statistics alone. Now, when we're looking at the educational aspect, especially the educational aspect of our kids in our community, you have to look at when the kids is living with two parents in the house. With black kids that's living with two parents in the house, 38% of those kids, their parents are married to one another. Now, also within that as well, the other 4% of that are not married to each other. So they may be two parents who are not married that are living together in that house, and then a 38% of parents are married to each other when they're living together. So that determines who's married, who's not married, and that percentage, of course, is just a tad bit, not as much as just having the mothers only in the house, but it is almost fairly close and almost half. But when you're looking at the number of children that live with their mother only, we always hear about the single moms all the time. But let's go a little bit deeper into that, because when you're looking at the single moms, 31% of them have never been married, meaning they have never been asked for their hand in marriage. They've never made it to the altar. They never were married. Now, when you go a little bit deeper into the other parts of that percentage that make up the more than that 46%, 1% of those mothers have been widowed, 7% have been divorced, 5%, around 5% have been separated, and the other 2% had a married spouse, but they were absent outside of the home, whether they were off, working a job or maybe in the military or something of that nature. But what we don't talk about a lot of times is the number of kids that live with their fathers. And so that's around 3%. 1% of those men were widow, or less than 1%. About 1% were divorced. 1% was separated, and 1% was married, but the spouse was absent. But you have more mothers who are alone with the kids in the home than you do with the fathers in the home. And 7% of the kids live with neither parent. But either way that goes, education is almost like pushed into our heads as we're growing up. And so we do see the positive aspect of education in that regard there. Now, if you looked at one of my last videos, I always tend to talk about a lot more now about the positive aspect of financial literacy within the black household. And when you're looking at the financial stability and generational wealth, what you will see is that two-parent households also provide greater financial stability. Now, according to the Pew Research Center and some other blackdemographics.com, which is where I like to get the data for black people by black people, the median income for a black two-parent household, they say, is nearly 3 times as higher than that of single-parent households. So when I went back to look at the data and the information alone, in the black community, the median weekly earnings by age from 16 to 24 between the boys and men were $648 a week. When you got to 16 to 24, you had about $657. When you looked at 25 to 54, that was about $1,014 a week. And these are based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics second quarter in 2023, and not necessarily seasonally adjusted by that regard. But when you look at the black family, the black mother, black father being married together, the median household income was about $51,374. Now, the married couple family, the husband, the wife, the man, the woman, was about $94,669, and that was in 2022 with the inflation dollars adjusted on to that. So that financial security lays a groundwork for generational wealth, which means passing down assets like savings, home ownership, investment for the future, your generations, things like that. So if you listen to my last video, I did talk about that a lot in there. Now, when you look at the single mother families, that's what we talked about, that median household income was about $41,571 compared to the single fathers who made more was about $55,136. Now, I can compare this to other races as well, but I'm not going to do that because I want to specifically focus on the black culture. But this was based on the men and women working full-time jobs. But those studies show that the families who build wealth are 5 times more likely to pass that financial security on to their children, creating a cycle of opportunity and success. So the key is to closing the wealth gap in the black community. So let's take a little dive here for a second. When you're talking about the black community alone, a lot of times, well more than half, financial literacy is only talked about as far as just a savings account alone by itself. And a savings account is not building wealth if you know the truth about banks. You know that financial security, financial stability is when you start investing money, which is not necessarily discussed within our community a lot. And it's almost like people are afraid to talk about it. But when you look outside of your community and outside the black community, you notice there are different things that are in place, like whether if it's trust, whether if it's real estate, whether if it's opening up businesses. Those type of things help generate more money to help you build that wealth and not just relying on your 9 to 5 job and passing the savings account down, because that's not building wealth. That's just almost passing it barely to the next generation. But we have to most definitely talk about those, because those are some of the key things that you can use to help close those gaps of that financial stability and generational wealth across the other communities. Now, when you're looking at another point of this, we have to look at the emotional and social benefits to children. Now, why should we look at that? Well, let me drop a couple of points here to you. So when children are spending quality time with both of their parents, children are going to have more smiles on their face. They're going to be at more family events with one another. Even just going out within your community, you can see this. So beyond that, academic and finances, 2-parent households provide a critical emotional and social benefits to children, because studies have shown that children raised in those home experiences have lower levels of stress and anxiety and depression. But they also tend to have higher self-esteem and are more likely to develop strong social skills, meaning they're going to learn how to talk to one another. And it's very important that when we have the children in the home, that you're actually sitting down and having intellectual and constructive conversations with them, because that's what we most definitely need in our community. But according to a report from the Institute of Family Studies, they say that kids in 2-parent homes are 20% less likely to experience mental health issues compared to peers in single-parent homes. But when you look at these single-parent homes, what you also have to take into consideration is that one parent is oftentimes at work, working multiple jobs, and not able to tend to the children. And so that's why I like to push a lot on the channel of how important it is to have 2-parent households, you all. I don't know no other way that I can talk about that. But if you have noticed the benefits even in your family or others around you, most definitely share your thoughts in the comments below. Some people may disagree that 2-parent households may not work as much as a single parent household. But I'm going to let you all face those in the comments, address those, because we definitely could most definitely talk about that. But just being able to think back in my mind and having friends who've had parents who have been married for decades, just being able to have that your father there or your mother there together, you all enjoying the holidays together, those are things that are tied into your emotions that you'll be able to think about and pass down for generation to generation because you all want to have those lasting memories. So, what can we do at this point? Well, breaking the cycle and building strong communities is most definitely something that we need within our community. So, let's go ahead and jump right into that point. When you have community events, group activities, black families contributing to their communities or well-maintained neighborhoods, who would not want to live in a well-maintained neighborhood? It's very hard out here for a single mother to raise their child or children without the help of somebody else. I always like to say this: if you take what you make a year as a salary, imagine what your lifestyle could be if you were married to someone who was able to add a salary to that. So, for example, if you made $50,000 a year and you're taking care of a kid, that's going to be a lot. That's going to be a heavy burden on you. But imagine if you were able to meet someone who made $50,000 a year. You all have $100,000 a year household. You both can pour into that child. You both can discuss your finances, each other to make your household work the best for you. But we will definitely get into more of the financial aspects of the adults in a different video. But I always say whatever that you make, and no matter if it's six figures or more, is two incomes is always better than one. But when you look at those two black parent households, it is a critical role in breaking the cycle of poverty and instability in the household by itself. So the strength and the unity found in these families don't just impact the children, but they uplift the entire community around you. You don't believe me? Take a ride in your car, go to a very nice neighborhood, and I want you to look in the driveway. I want you to look outside in the flower bed. I want you to look outside in the yard and see in other communities when you have a mother, a father, and some children outside. And you look at it and you think back, wow, my situation is not like that. What do I need to do in my life so that I can be able to build a community for my family to live in and to mimic what I see? Now, the house may not be the same size, but the fact that you are able to go somewhere, you have a roof over your head, you're putting food on the table for your children, you all are putting your resources together. I don't care if you working at McDonald's together, but the simple fact that the both of you all are there, if you have children, and building this together, you are definitely working to create a stable family that's going to contribute to safer neighborhoods, greater economic activity for you all, and stronger social networks. Because when married families start talking and getting together, you all may have dinner parties. The kids may be able to come together and play. They grow up together. They become friends. And then they see what the institution of marriage is like between the man and woman. And they are moving forward in their life. Think about the research, how it shows that the areas of higher rates of two-parent households tend to experience lower crime rates, better educational outcome across the whole board. But it's clear that strong families create strong communities. So here's the thing I want you to think about. People like a good challenge, and I want you to think about this as well. But the challenge and the challenges and what we can do is have discussions around couples planning for the future. We can most definitely have those. And I want you to look at the challenges that are faced by single parents households and how the community can offer support. And I'm going to do another video on the single mothers, single fathers, because of course not every family has the benefit of two parents in the home. And that doesn't diminish the love and the hard work of single parents, because I've met plenty of single mothers out there that were out there grinding in manufacturing facilities, that were grinding in call centers, trying to put food on the table for their families. And I'm not diminishing that at all. But if we can provide more support, more education, and encourage healthy relationships, we can most definitely strengthen the family unit and create a brighter future for our kids. And if you don't know this, in the Black community, about 46% of the kids or children live in two-parent households, according to the latest Census Bureau. While that number has sort of increased a little bit, we still have to work to do in promoting the strong family structure. So I want you to ask yourself this question, and I really want you to think about this, but what can we do collective as a community? What can we can most definitely start encouraging healthy relationships. It's not that hard, people. We can start investing in family education programs, even within our home, within our neighborhood, and supporting one another, because when families thrive, communities thrive. And I want you all to really think about this, because I most definitely appreciate you all for joining me today on this particular video or night or whenever you're watching it, about the power of two-parent households in Black communities. Because if you pretty much agree that strong families are a key to success, I want you to hit that like button on this channel right here, because share this video with someone who needs it, who needs to hear it. I know you know somebody out there that does. And don't forget to subscribe for more content, because I definitely want to continue to bring this type of content to the channel and building generational wealth and uplifting our communities, because we need that so much. Because in my other video, I talked a lot about much more positive content on YouTube. So definitely thank you all once again. Join me in this video. We definitely got a lot of work to do. We're going to continue to bring more content to you soon.